of The Follow-Up. I'm Eden, and this is my dad, Noah. And every week we sit on my bed and have a conversation about something we want to talk about. And this week, we're going to talk about how to spend a great weekend in New York City. And this is from our friend Eileen. She watches the podcast a lot, and she has some friends coming into the city soon who have some kids from 6 to 10, and they were wondering for some suggestions.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's their first time in New York City, I think. And there's so much to do, and it's a weekend, so we've just talked about this when we were in DC. Like, you can't just see all of DC in one weekend, and New York's the largest city in the United States. So what would you do? And so and I know you wouldn't know what to do, like, if this is my first time. So you can just go through some of your things that you really like in New York City, or that you think would be good for a group to do on their first time in New York City to get the most out of the weekend.
Yeah.
All right. So where would you stay? Like, what neighborhood would you stay in?
Maybe Times Square area. There's just Times Square around, at least when I think about it. Not really direction-wise, but it's like the middle.
You speak up?
Not really direction-wise, but it's like the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And everything is kind of surrounded around Times Square.
Okay.
And so Times Square is a good area, and there's a bunch of things.
Okay, so what do you think that kids would, for their first time, love about Times Square?
Like, seeing the ball is cool. Really cool.
Right, so that's a little known fact that you can see the New Year's ball all year. It's there.
Yeah, I remember during the pandemic, we walked down there just to the ball, and it was a nice day, empty on the streets. We took a picture, and like anybody was there.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was just really cool. Just the ball was just there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, it's more busy. Again, but it's still really cool. And later we'll get into this, but Broadway, Times Square is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Right, so seeing all the lights.
Yeah.
And all just even the ads and
the
ads buildings,
make Times Square what it is.
The lights, yeah, and the big signs, and then all the Broadway theaters. You see all those signs, and there's also, there's tourist stores, but that's cool. Like, have we ever been in the M&M store? No, but we hear that a lot of kids really like the M&M store, and it's something to do in Times Square. And in her notes, she said non-theater, which is cool. But if you were to see a show, I don't think we talked about this, but I think maybe even like New Victory Theater for kids theater is a great option if you don't want, one, something crazy expensive, and two, something that's really, really long.
I think last year we went to, it was maybe like an hour and a half, and it was like a Cirque du Soleil cool, like, acrobatic show. It was so cool. There was someone, like, spinning by her hair.
Yeah, that was wild. But if you were to see a show for ages 6 through 10, what would you pick?
Whew, on Broadway. Aladdin was really good.
Aladdin, that was your first show. Yeah.
6 was awesome.
But maybe not for a 6-year-old?
Nah.
Yeah.
It's probably for a little bit older.
Yeah, so Aladdin? Lion King?
Maybe.
Yeah, but that can be a little scary too, that age. So yeah, maybe Aladdin would be cool.
Aladdin's good.
But New Victory Theater is
and I feel like
really
Aladdin's good for all ages.
I think so too.
It was really good.
Okay, so how about other things, one that you would try to see, or another way to explore the city?
Like, I've never done these, and I don't think you have either. But the hop-on, hop-off buses, just get around.
I think we did it when I was a little kid, but yeah.
You can get around the city on those. But it's a way just to see sights if you don't want to take one bus to another bus, to another bus, to another bus, and just, like, to conveniently see sights.
Right. So if you're not going to go, like, into the World Trade, well, I guess World Trade, but if you're not going to go into the Empire State Building and go up to the top, which would be pretty cool if you're going to go into one place. Maybe it's that, or maybe that's pretty iconic. So you'd go up to the top, but if you're not going to go into them, you just want to say like, "Oh, I saw the Empire State Building," or "I saw One World Trade," or "I saw the Central Park." Like, you could go on the hop on, hop off bus tour. Mm-hmm. What else? What other ways do you think could you? Any other tours that you could think of? Mm-hmm. Like, I know that you really liked.
I really liked there was a tour of Midtown.
Yeah, where we live.
And there is so much history you don't even know is around you. That was really cool. You got to hear some history about Bryant Park, like the Waldorf Astoria, all sorts of
Grand
things.
Central Station.
Yeah.
Rockefeller Center.
That was cool.
So that was
Rockefeller
in
Center.
Times Square even.
Yeah, Rockefeller Center is just fun to walk around it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some cool things.
There's just so many iconic buildings.
Yeah.
And on that walking tour, it's called freewalkingtours.com, and you just tip at the end, and they have them in all different neighborhoods. So in New York, you're going to be walking around a lot, just as you should, or you can get the get an unlimited weekend bus pass that you can use on the subway too. But walking around, that's certainly better than taking taxis. It's driving in the city is a mess. But that free walking tour is neat.
If you don't have to, don't take taxis. Mm-hmm. That is my transportation tip.
There are some other things I thought of. Walking across the Brooklyn Bridge.
That's fine.
And then when you get to the other side, one, you have great views. But you get to the other side and you can go to Grimaldi's, which is a famous pizza place. And there's also multiple ice cream places. And I forget the name of the ice cream place on a little house on the water there. But that's a great ice cream place.
You can also go to that other pizza place.
Oh, Lucali? Oh, well, that's like in a neighborhood. You gotta keep going. And that's also, I wouldn't suggest, Lucali is outstanding, but I wouldn't suggest that for someone's first trip to New York because
because you have to wait in line.
Right, you're sucking out hours there just to wait in a line and then walk around, and that's that stuff. But there are so many great pizza places. So if you find yourself in the West Village, you can go to Joe's, which would be a good option. But there's so many.
Mm-hmm, there's also so one down on 14th Street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's so many. You have to get legit New York pizza, and we can give you the actual restaurant suggestions.
Yeah.
I would say I think going to the Statue of Liberty, which you did a few weeks ago, Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. I think going to the Statue of Liberty is pretty neat. But you also you don't have to go to the Statue of Liberty. You can just hop on a ferry and take it around the Statue of Liberty and see it.
Yeah.
And get close enough to it and take pictures and see the views. So if the goal is to try to see as much as possible, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
I
think there's not fully positive on this, but I think, isn't there a ferry that takes you around Manhattan Island?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like I think it's a Manhattan cruise or something. Or maybe it is just a ferry.
It's a ferry.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know how long it is, but it takes you around the city and you can see the whole everything around. You can see the skyline, which I think is pretty cool.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good idea. If you're into, it depends also what your kids are interested in.
Yeah.
So if they're into the sciences, the Natural History Museum is cool. If you're into it, the Air and Space Museum, if you're into it, cool. I think the MoMA can work for kids also.
One thing everybody usually says, go to the ice cream museum.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't recommend that.
It's a waste.
At the moment.
Yeah, you said it's a waste, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a waste.
Yeah.
And I also think that if, depending on your kids, if you want to just walk Fifth Avenue and see all of those fancy stores, we haven't walked into the new Tiffany's yet. That's an activity, and the NBA stores,
that's so
the NBA
fun.
store is there.
But it's sometimes you can go into just those Fifth Avenue stores to just look around the store. That new Tiffany's, it's a work of art inside.
Yeah, agreed. We've got to do that sometime soon. So there's there are so many different ways to just see as much as possible, and you're going to be exhausted. And and there's plenty of. I think New York is great for kid-friendly places because everything is just always just kind of so loud.
Yeah,
so,
and also like another fun thing
in terms of for restaurants, I meant
is the Lego store.
Right. So if you're in Rockefeller Center, you can go to the Lego store.
There's always a long line out the door.
That's true. Yeah, and again, it also depends on where you're coming from. Do you have certain things in your hometown?
Yes.
If you're really into baseball and history, but for kids, maybe baseball, the Jackie Robinson Museum.
That was really cool.
Was terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's plenty of these museums that don't feel like a stuffy old museum.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. Okay, so I think that's got all that, everybody. Got your weekend plan?
If there's any questions you have on if you want some of our restaurant recommendations or anything else, we would love to hear from you, and we would love to answer some of your questions.
So leave them on Apple Podcasts. I don't think you can, because it's like a kids podcast. I don't think we can leave comments under it on YouTube. But you could also, on the Twitter handle, I started one a long time ago, but I've not been using it for the podcast, at All New Dads. And so you can just leave the questions there.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we would, maybe if we get a few, we'll try to answer them on the next podcast. Sounds good.
Hey, yeah, I think you'd be a pretty good tour guide.
Thanks.
Love you.
Love you.
Hey, can I have a real hug? Thanks.